Mhm.
Oh, hold on.
Okay, so welcome to Positivity is the Way to Go. He is a former freelance writer, journalist who does analysis on Mondays via the NFL Hot Topics a segment on sports radio show, how the Ryder Report, um available on LR.com and on YouTube. Welcome my guest today, Albert Lanier. How's it going, man?
It's fine. How are you?
Doing okay. How was the OJ Simpson? How was the trial today, man?
The
I knew
trial.
you was gonna. Yeah, I knew you
The
was gonna. I knew
trial.
you was. I knew you
What
was.
what
I
am
knew you
I?
was on.
Well, let me
I knew
guess.
you was.
Let me
I
guess.
knew you was on.
The way
I
you're
knew you was
framing
on.
it is that people are going to say Better Call Saul.
Yeah, I
No.
knew you was on that.
No,
I
I'm
knew
not
you
in
was
a
on the trial, and I knew you was in the OJ Simpson trial, man. You was
no. I
hidden
wasn't in
somewhere
any
there.
trial. Look, let me make this very clear. I'm not an attorney, though I do play one on TV. No, I don't. No, I'm not an attorney, though I'm dressed like one, I guess, apparently. Um, no, normally when I go on YouTube, if I do an interview on YouTube, on a YouTube channel, on a camera interview anywhere, I normally have to dress in a professional way. I was a journalist for 22 years. So this was part of how I dressed, right? Often it would be more long sleeve shirt and tie and so forth, or it was more open collar, which is why I'm doing that. Um, so when I worked in Seattle, this is how I dressed. LA to a certain extent. When I lived in LA to a certain extent. So it's just the standard for an interview. I comment on an interview, I dress this way. But enough of that. We're here to talk about. I didn't expect to come back to this show so fast because I
I knew you
already
was.
did an interview several days ago.
Yeah.
But what's changed is this. I have a situation that happened to me, and I think it's an important thing to talk about. I think it's an important thing to talk about. What happened was, and it just happened this past Monday, is that I was kicked off of Instagram. I was ejected from Instagram. And let me just set this up. I went to Instagram because I had an interview, or should I say, I had an interview with a YouTube channel. I was on a show this past Sunday called Reserved Seats. It's on a YouTube channel. So I was on a YouTube show this past Sunday. So I'm going to my platforms and I'm promoting my show, which I do with any interview. Same with this one. I promoted the last interview I did here on Positivity is the Way to Go. And I and went to all the platforms, and Instagram was one of the platforms I had. I'm getting ready to kind of share, I guess, the video, which is what they allow you to do. Um, and I got kicked to something, I guess they call it an appeal on Instagram. And I went through the steps. I had no idea what this was about. And they let me know afterwards. And I just out of curiosity went back sometime later. And that was when I found out that they had deactivated my account and that I was ejected from Instagram. Um, Now, there are people that go through what is known as deplatforming. What happened in my case was not deplatforming. Deplatforming has to do with someone who's controversial, offensive, getting into political or social or other kind of topics or who causes a stir and then it's a free speech issue. Based on what I was told as the reason for my being ejected from the platform, had nothing to do with any speech. After all, Instagram is a visual platform. It's about photos, pictures, what have you. What I was told was that there were fake channels. That was the reason they gave me. Now, this is an outright and complete lie on the part of Instagram. I have no fake channels. I have no channels, period. I had one channel, which was one page, and that was my page on Instagram. And what I did on that page was promote my film newsletters on Substack. I have two film newsletters, Final Cut and Retro Review. The first is about film essays and other kinds of articles. The second is, that's Final Cut. The second, Retro Review, is solely about film reviews. It's real reviews of movies from the past. And these are movies generally that are either forgotten, barely known, or completely unknown. So those are my two newsletters on Substack. I also promote my podcasts, and they're also found on Substack, but also they are on Spotify. The first podcast is Final Cut, named after the newsletter. It's a promotional vehicle and a promotional podcast for the newsletter. The second is called The Write-Off. It's a new podcast this year, and it's about writing, different writing fields. Those were the outlets that I was promoting on Instagram, like I do on Facebook, like I do on X, or any other platform I'm on. That's the only thing that I was doing on Instagram. And to be brutally honest, I did not spend a lot of time on Instagram. I was there primarily to promote my stuff and go. But that was what I was in fact doing this past Monday, which is when this happened. Monday, was it December 15th, if I recall correctly? That was precisely what I was doing when all this happened. So they stated an outright fiction, a prevarication, a lie. There were no fake channels. There are no other pages. There are no other accounts. There's nothing else. This is the reason. And the only reason I'm talking about this is because people online have talked about being deplatformed for their views. Like I said, I wasn't strictly deplatformed because it had nothing to do with views. I was simply removed like those who are deplatformed are. But the reason I'm talking about this is, number one, I think these tech companies, no matter what they are, whether it's YouTube, which is what we are on now, whether it is Facebook, whether it is X, I don't care what it is. These tech companies have way too much power. And the reason I'm on these platforms primarily these days, and I've been on a number of them for years, is to promote and market my outlets and my projects that are online. And my YouTube page as well, which is Ryder Albert Lanier. That's why I go on here. I don't know why other people do it. They have their reasons. Some people go on there to talk to people. And I've talked to people certainly on Facebook and Twitter and so forth. And I check notifications constantly. But without getting into people that are deplatformed. Now, there are people that go and say the worst things, racist things, sexist things, horrible, homophobic things, horrible things online. Excuse me. They say all these things. But the thing that I want to make clear is that the problems of deplatforming can also exist in terms of the removal of people for things that have nothing to do with speech, have nothing to do with statements, and nothing to do with anything else. Nothing political, nothing social. I wasn't controversial. I wasn't offensive. I didn't say anything because it's a visual platform. So no politics, no social issues, nothing. So those people that are involved in the deplatforming aspect, the only thing I have in common with them is that we are removed from a platform. And that's the troubling thing. The troubling thing is the removal from a platform. And the reason that I'm talking about this, again, this happened this past Monday. It's Thursday as we are recording this. The reason I'm talking about this is If it's happened to me, it could probably happen to someone else and has happened to someone else. What people have to keep in mind is they can remove you for no good reason. They can remove you for no good reason, or for reasons that are completely and utterly, if not erroneous, then completely fictitious, false. There were no fake channels. I had no other channels. I wasn't even aware that there was anything like fake channels on Instagram. I had one page. That's it. But I feel, again, and here's the strange part. I had no reaction other than total surprise and shock. Beyond that, I took it very logically. Maybe because I don't have an attachment to social media platforms. Like, the thing that I wonder is, and this is another reason I'm talking about this, is what about people that make money off of this? Like, I know you, Dion, are looking to get monetized on YouTube.
Yeah.
Right. And I know from having been a content creator for over a year on YouTube, I don't really consider myself a content creator on YouTube, though I have a YouTube channel, official YouTube channel. And I do have a couple of small shows on there. I'm not really a major content creator or a real content creator like a bunch of people. But I've seen people worry about being demonetized and being losing revenues and losing income. And so what I wonder about is there are people I'm aware of that probably use any and all platforms to make money. I don't know how you make money off of Instagram because my platforms are not monetized and I'm not into
Well,
making money.
they got Instagram models, Albert. People be making
Right.
money off OnlyFans. So that's how they
Mm-hmm.
make money and stuff. Like this lady Nicole Borda, she's a Instagram model and stuff. So, and then I also had a problem like this when I was on LinkedIn years ago. I was trying to look for work, and
Right.
this lady, she wanted a vanilla gift card, and I told her no, and she reported me, and they booted me off and restricted my account. And this happened like 3, 4 years ago, and I don't know what happened. Because I was talking to this gymnast, I was trying to have her on my YouTube channel, Caitlin Ahashi, and we were friends and stuff. We befriended each other. She went to UCLA, and she was a gymnast and everything, and we was like friends, and then they restrict the account and everything. Like a lot of these people, they be either mistaken identity, like Northern National, that's they're suing us for mistaken identity and everything. And that's what happened. You could have somebody look similar to you, or they could use your name because
Mm-hmm.
it's always somebody that looks similar to us. Like people think that I be stealing out the stores and stuff, and because it's somebody that looks similar to me. So sometimes it's guilty by association.
It's interesting you mentioned that because what did go through my mind when this happened was that somebody might have tried to have me removed from Instagram somehow or attack me somehow. And I've talked to a couple people. I talked to one or two people, and that's what you were one of the people that I talked to. And I was told it could be somebody who's trying to use your name or trying to do trying to work against you in some way. Certainly, that possibility exists. I was a journalist for over 20 years. You're in the news business or you're in the journalism industry. There are going to be people who don't like you for whatever reasons. They don't have to be rational reasons. They don't have to be actual reasons. They could just not like you. And you mentioned LinkedIn. I have to be honest, when you told me that initially, because we spoke about this previously, I didn't know anyone that would have been kicked off of LinkedIn. So I was surprised. But then again, I didn't think that I could be or anyone could be kicked off of Instagram. Like I thought, for what reason? I mean,
Yeah.
I guess
Don't not
if
don't
you put up a
don't not
meme that
surprise
was terrible for me.
don't
Go
not
ahead.
surprise me anymore, man, with social media and people, like a lot of people they don't want you on there at all for some reason, they especially if you're trying to send the right message, they
Mhm.
negatively sells money today. Positively doesn't sell money today, So, they want the
Right.
bad stuff, but they don't want the good, with social media and stuff.
Right. So they think, so there are people who think negativity is the way to go.
Well, exactly. Yeah, a lot of people, man, they ain't gonna tell you, but they
Right.
negative,
Whereas,
they be talking
well, you
alone,
see a
they,
lot of that anyway. Yeah. Right.
well, yeah, and that's what social media is. It's a lot of narcs, trolls, like I had a guy on my video, he didn't like my video, so he was trolling me and stuff. And I deleted his comments and stuff. Like we don't have no need for negative comments and stuff. It's all about positivity. It's the way to go, like my channel.
Right. Well,
So
I was like that with comments on my live streams. And if I had about three rules. I guess I don't promote them as much, but one of the rules is if you leave anything that's inappropriate in terms of comments or speech, it'll be automatically deleted. And people
exactly.
don't really
So
like rules online. That's what I noticed. They don't like rules online, and I'm not a huge rule person, but
yeah,
you when it comes to your channel on YouTube, you have to set rules. Now, getting back to rules with platforms, the reality is that I, I the whole thing to me smells. And I've never had any problems with Instagram prior to this. They never contacted me. I never had any dealings with any admin or whatever entity runs Instagram. This occurred within a day. One day I was, earlier on Monday, I was on Instagram and still had a page there. The next, got a couple hours later or whatever it was, my page was gone. That's how fast it could go. Sorry. And so, again, what's interesting to me when I mentioned this was I think because I didn't grow up with the internet, I'm not attached to social media platforms. There isn't a
oh
personal
yeah,
thing for me, but it is. So it's not personal to me. In fact, it felt impersonal. And the thing that was interesting was for me, because I've seen people who have been deplatformed and ejected from platforms, stayed, that get mad and upset. And I'm sure, and this is why I bring up the financial end. I have no money involved in any platform that
yeah.
I have on
I was
social media.
I was upset when they kicked me off LinkedIn, man, and stuff, because I was just trying to get work and trying to
Right.
get people on my YouTube channel. You would be
Mhm.
surprised on what be going on LinkedIn, though, man. There'd be a lot of stuff. People be having inappropriate pictures on there. They don't need to be on profile. Like it ain't all
Really?
professional. Yes.
I haven't seen anything like that. I'm still on
Well,
LinkedIn. And
I
I've
have
never
come
seen
across
anything
it,
like
like in
that.
2021 and stuff. It ain't professional as people think. You, people use People use their platform for different reasons these days.
Right. I understand that, but LinkedIn is supposed to be for jobs, career, and work.
Yeah, but not everybody on there. It's a lot of scammers that be on LinkedIn too, man.
I
Especially in
I,
Texas,
I can
man.
understand that.
You know what's crazy? A lot of people in Texas are a lot. They are scammers, especially the women and stuff. Texas got
Right.
a lot of catfish and scammers, man. That's who I. That it was a person there. They was right on Texas, and they was a catfish. And that happens too, because it could be a 12-year-old boy on the other end. You don't know, trying to get money out of you, even on LinkedIn.
Well, yeah, like I said, there are a lot of scammers online, and I think there are a lot of malefactors online. There are a lot of people with malevolent attitudes and opinions and
Yeah.
views that want to
But
go after people. And
they
again,
not
but
they not gonna say that in person though, Albert. They'll say it on the internet because it's like when an
that's
NBA
old
player like
fashioned.
Russell Westbrook, it was somebody spit on him or threw a ball at him or something. They were talking about his mama or something, and he was about to go over there and knock him out. And he said that the fans don't need to be all out there like that. Like in college, Marcus Smart, he had an incident when he was at Oklahoma State. He got pushed by one of the students and everything. And it went viral and everything. So even players, they deal with that stuff too. That's why a lot of people take their social medias off or they take a break.
Again, from my perspective, social media for me is about my outlets,
Yeah,
my Substacks, my podcast, my YouTube channel. That's these days, that's why I operate on social media platforms. You go to my
yeah,
Facebook, you go to my X, you go to whatever other platform I'm on. That's what you're going to see on my pages.
yeah.
You're not going to see any
Well,
personal stuff. You're not going to see any frivolous stuff. You're going to see anything that has to do with either movies, because I'm a former film reviewer, former online film reviewer. I was for 8 years. I was a journalist for 22. And sports, as you noted in the intro, I analyze the NFL. I do a segment on a show based in California called the Ryder Report.
speaking of the
Um,
NFL, speaking of the NFL, that was a nice segue. What do you think about the Sharon Moore like case and everything? Because I mean, Michigan have had a lot of scandals lately with Jim Harbaugh. He with the Chargers now. He was on the Dan Patrick show talking about it recently about Sharon Moore and how he texted him like a month ago. And I felt it very crazy that he was talking to OnlyFans models during the Ohio State and Michigan game. And one question I ponder is, if they would have won the game against Ohio State and been in the college football playoff, would he would have got fired? With all the what he would have got investigated if they would have won that game? That's what I've been pondering. With all these new revelations coming out.
well, I'll just address this briefly because I want to get back to the main subject. It's one of the craziest situations I've seen in college football. That's not the NFL, but college football. I've never seen anything like that with a college football coach. Nothing. I know that you have coaches and others in positions of power with inappropriate relationships, and that's what this was. Because this was a woman that I think became assistant to Moore,
Well, yeah,
that he was
well, he
sexually
basically,
involved with.
well, yeah, he basically probably had on staff to have sex with her, basically. That's probably what he had on staff. He probably was paying her, under the table and everything, and he had on staff for that very reason. Because after 2 years.
Well, that's old fashioned. I mean, that's the kind of behavior that's existed in offices and in companies for a lot of years in the past. I don't know if it still exists now. It's unfortunate. And in this case, the extent of it seems to have metastasized. This guy seems like, I don't know if he is a sex addict. Maybe I shouldn't even say that. But this guy seems to have he seems to be enormously horny. And I mean, I don't think I've ever heard of a football coach that would try to text a OnlyFans model, or
Yeah,
like
during the
again,
Ohio State Michigan game, he was texting
right. I mean, the
OnlyFans
fact that he
model.
did that, I'm like, couldn't he have at least waited until after the game? I mean, if he did after the game, that might have made more sense.
But
But
you know what's crazy?
uh,
He
you
married
know,
with 3 kids.
right.
I don't get it at
To,
all.
to kind of close this up, I think I don't like college football. I never have. And this is just one indication of why I don't like it. I, some of the personalities involved in college football have dubious lives and have serious issues, and more or someone who had serious issues that are now exposed. So what will happen with him afterwards, I don't know. But getting back to the online situation and the situation with online platforms, you know, what this has gotten me to do is think. I never cared about deplatforming or removal or ejection from online platforms, from social media platforms, from other kinds of platforms. I never thought about that. I was completely neutral on the subject. But now, of course, that it's happened to me, you can't be neutral anymore. You have to at least have some kind of view, some kind of point of view. And what happened to me was completely unjust. My reaction was completely logical. I had no choice but to accept it, and I moved on. Thanks to your suggestion when we talked, I'm now on Pinterest,
Yeah,
and
we gotta follow each other on Pinterest. You gotta email me or text me your information, man, so I can we can link up on Pinterest, man.
right. You can find me there on Pinterest. So, to you, Dion, but also to anyone else, I'm no longer on Instagram because of what I noted before. I am on Pinterest. I just joined a couple days ago. I think I'm going to head there after this
You you
interview.
know you know
Um,
what's crazy? Luke Bryan from American Idol had messaged me on Pinterest like we had discussed, but he wanted to get paid to come on my channel though, and I was like, man, you from? I was thinking, man, he rich. Why do he need to get paid to come on people's channels and stuff? You
well,
know?
that's why they're rich because they get paid to
Yeah,
come on channels on YouTube. That's why they're
exactly.
rich.
But
But
I'm just saying, okay.
but what I'll say is this: um, I obviously I'm no longer on Instagram. If anybody who followed me on Instagram is watching this, I'm now on Pinterest. Go ahead and follow me there and check me out there. I'm under my name, Albert Lanier, on Pinterest. So check that out. If anything, I think it's been better. I mean, with Pinterest, you pin, instead of just putting it up like you do on Instagram, you pin this on boards, right? Because you do a board here and you do a board there. It's like a bulletin board. If anything, I think it's been much better. So that is the one bright thing that's come out of this is I'm
See, I
on
gave you
another
good advice,
platform
man.
that I think is
See, yeah.
better for me
You
visually.
ain't gonna get banned on
Um,
Pinterest at all. I don't think so.
what was that?
I don't think you're gonna get banned on Pinterest at all. It'd be a miracle for that to happen.
I hope not. Now you say that, you never know, but you never know with these platforms. That's part of the reason that I'm talking about this.
Yeah.
I moved on. When I got
Yeah,
the
life goes
the
on, Albert.
notification,
It'll be all
I
right,
moved
man.
on.
There's always
But
other ways,
but but the
to
thing
circuit,
about it
get
is,
your
what
information
I
out there.
realized. But here's what I realized: it's not about me per se, although I'm a part of this.
It's
It's
about
about what
them.
can happen to others, and it's
Yeah.
about precisely. It's about what could happen to people out in the public. Because
And you
here's
want
what
to
you
be the
have to
voice,
understand, folks.
and you want
Once
to be the
you
voice for the voiceless.
once you get removed, that's I wouldn't put it that grandiose. I wouldn't put it that grandiosely or in a grandiose fashion, but that it's a possibility. Here's what I would say to the people out there. If they decide to remove you, whether it's Instagram or any other social media platform, you don't have a recourse. That's what Instagram said to me. No appeal. I guess the appeal that happened was that appeal. No appeal. They will deactivate. I always say, people talk about deactivating Instagram. Instagram, I didn't deactivate Instagram. Instagram tried to deactivate me. Let me repeat that. I didn't deactivate Instagram. Instagram tried to deactivate me, and they deactivated my account, which means that you lose your account. You lose all the data or all the content and everything that you put up there, and you lose other means. Like I said, and this is important, There are people that make money off of all these platforms. I'm old fashioned. I made my money as a writer. I made my money as a journalist. And I don't talk about finances or economics personally, but I will only say this. I'm living off of my savings because I'm retired. I've been retired for 8 years. I'm living off my savings, and I'll leave it at that. But there are people that actually earn a living or try to off of online platforms. And so, for a number of these people and others, but a number of these people, if they get removed from an Instagram, if they get removed from a Facebook or an X or some platform, that's a loss of income. That's a loss of revenue. That's a loss of money for them. And it impacts. That's why some of these people that have been deplatformed. And again, I'm not here to defend those that are racist, sexist, homophobic, and engaged in hate speech. Like, I'm not. I don't care for that stuff, and I don't care for them and what they do. However, the problem with deplatforming and removal, there is a problem with it. There is a problem. You don't have to defend the people to see that deplatforming and general removal and what I call it digital eviction, because that's what it is. You're being evicted from a platform. You think of it this way. If you're on Facebook, if you're on Twitter or X, if you're on some other platform, you're like a tenant. Even if you're not paying rent, you're inhabiting a space, much like an apartment, much like a house, to make the comparison. And if they kick you off the platform, they are evicting you. Just like people that are removed. They have to take their stuff, they have to take everything in the house, and they have to leave. And if they have nowhere to go, they have nowhere to go. If they have somewhere to go, they have somewhere to go. It's digital eviction for anyone, whether those are deplatformed or others removed for other reasons. I was not deplatformed. I was ejected because they said I had fake. That's right. They deactivated my account. They said I had fake channels. I had no fake channels. I had no other channels. I had one channel, one page. That was it. So this is a blatant and outright lie. Now, again, I don't put it past someone to try to attack me to somehow get me off of Instagram. Why? I don't know. I could think of a couple people that might have done that. I don't know that I should say their YouTube channel names here because I don't want to promote them. It's up to you.
You don't want to air out that dirty laundry.
I don't want to. I don't want to help them with their dirty laundry, and I don't want to help them. I don't mind stating the YouTube names. I don't know their real names.
Yeah, but I want to get a couple sports questions. I want to get a couple sports questions in, Albert. You know, you said we talk about it at the end and everything. You know,
Right.
what is going on with the Chicago Cubs, man? Why are they so cheap? I mean, you're a Cubs fan. Why are they so cheap? Why they don't want to sign anybody? I mean, Brad Keller just went to the Phillies. You know, I don't know why they don't want to spend no money. They're like a small market team, and that's my biggest problem with the Cubs. What are your thoughts?
Well, you know, with the Cubs, I don't want to. I don't want to offend. I am a Cubs fan, but you know, it's always a problem when you have owners. You know, the issue that I'm interested in with the Cubs is actually not with the team. It has to do with the apartments near Wrigley Stadium. That's the issue I've caught up with. And that's a whole other. You know what? I wish that I could. I don't really have an opinion about the trades and the deals that are being made in terms of the Cubs. Go ahead.
You know what's crazy? I don't know why, but they just saying Cal Tucker back, man, and that's getting him a deferred contract like Shohei Ohtani. The Dodgers always get it right. Andrew Freeman came from the Tampa Bay Rays and everything, you know. And now look at the payroll now. And that's
Well,
probably why a lot of people think that Major League
the
Baseball need to
reality
have a
in
payroll.
Major League Baseball, the reality in Major League Baseball is you got to spend the money.
Yeah,
The reason the Dodgers have two World Series titles in a row
back to
is
back,
they're
and they
spending
gonna
the
get three
money.
in a row. They just saying L and Diaz, so the rich get
Yeah,
richer.
they got a pitcher.
But they likable though. They
And I'm
like
not
the
a
Eagles
Dodgers fan.
Empire.
You got to understand, I'm not a Dodgers fan. I like
Yeah,
Otani, so I'm a bit of a fan of Otani's, which is the only reason I watch the World Series, frankly, in the playoffs.
yeah. He
Um,
the best player in
but
baseball, man.
but I'm saying with baseball, it's about money more so than the
Yeah.
NFL. The amount of
Well,
money
they
you
don't
can
got no
make in
salary
baseball
cap.
if you're a huge player is enormous
Well,
compared
yeah,
to the
and they
NFL.
don't got no, and they don't got no salary cap. See, in the
Yeah,
NFL,
none.
unless it's like a Mahomes getting 60 million per year. Like that's a nice segue to let's talk about Mahomes and these ACL injuries, man, because Robert
Mhm.
Griffin III, he was just talking about on the Dan Patrick show that he had a torn ACL, and he said that Michael Parsons and Patrick Mahomes to sit down next year and that's not play because they trying to play in September. But he said it's 9 months. They need to sit out
Mhm.
for 15 months to feel like themselves from the ACL injury. And a lot of people are talking about how the fields, like the turf grass, impact the injury because with Parsons, it was a non-contact injury. And what do you think about these things?
My understanding of with the ACLs is it's usually non-contact. That's what I've heard. You don't have to run into a player. You don't have to be hit. It's usually probably the muscle. You feel the pain from that injury occurs, and you feel the pain from that tear from what occurs. Um, those kinds of whether it's hamstring, whether it's ACL, it takes months of rehab, and the Chiefs need to sign somebody up at this point. Mahomes is not going to be ready, and I don't even. He may not even be the same when he gets back on the field. If he gets back on the field, he may not be the same. Right? If you look at if you look at the the Baltimore Ravens quarterback Jackson, he's not quite the same after the injury that he he suffered. Sorry, um, he's not the same. So it's going to take months. I would again. If the Chiefs need to sign somebody up for 2026.
Well, I think next year a lost year for them anyway, though, And the thing is, they offensive line, like they're an old team, They need to get up with the times, man. They running an old style offense. They coaching is old style. Like Andy Reid gonna be 69 years old. Like eventually he got to retire. They won the Super Bowls, but the AFC West is better. Like the Chargers and the Broncos ain't going anywhere. They younger,
Right. The
and they're not
problem
going anywhere.
the problem for the Chiefs is that other teams are now coming up in the West. They don't have the West to themselves anymore. And so the Broncos have turned into a playoff caliber team, or if not a playoff team. The Chargers are now a playoff team. That's two teams in the West.
And
It's
they're
not
younger.
like, yeah, it's not
And they're
like
younger.
you had to look at the Denver Broncos. If they play their cards right, the Broncos could, if they maintain enough quality with their offense, and their offense isn't stellar, but it's good at times. If they maintain the quality, especially with the defense, they could make a run. They could get some AFC West titles if they win a title here. They could actually at least be a playoff team the next 2, 3 years. The
Well,
Chargers, maybe the next couple of years. They already had a solid year last year. They went to the playoffs. It looks like they might go to the playoffs this year. So, but Justin Herbert, he's still kind of young, but he's been around for a while. So the Chargers don't have a lot of time to make noise. Um,
well,
the Broncos
what
do.
are your
You
thoughts
know,
on
good.
what are your thoughts on the AFC East, man? Because Buffalo that's beat New England and everything, and now people question New England like, is they gonna win division? Because right now there's Josh Allen. everybody's saying with the Buffalo Bills, it's Super Bowl or bust because they don't got Mahomes or Allen or Jackson in the way. They don't got Mahomes or Jackson in the way and everything. So people talking about they should just run through the AFC and get to the championship game. What are your thoughts
Well,
about
first,
the AFC
well,
and Josh
they,
Allen and what
you
he's
know,
talking about?
The Bills don't have the excuse of the Chiefs. The Bills don't have the excuse that the Chiefs might beat them this year. So this is the best time. If the Bills don't make it to the Super Bowl this year, there are really no excuses. Um, that's not to mean that it will be easy and it'll all be automatic for them. It won't. You have Broncos, they're really good, and they can play well in the third and fourth quarters offensively. That's scary. That's something I don't think they had as much really had last year.
What about the Patriots? You think
And
they
the Patriots, again, with the Patriots, the Broncos people expected to have a good year. Nobody expected the Patriots to have the year they did. So you have to understand this is a team that's in development right now. They're turning Drake May into a star quarterback, or trying to. They're trying to turn this team into a playoff contender. And it looks like they're going to the playoffs. Whether they'll win the division, I don't know. Again, you have to understand the Bills are playing good right now. And that's why they were able to beat the Patriots. Came back from 21 points to beat
yeah,
the
it was
Patriots.
21-0. Well, yeah, and
So they
it was
went
a
to Dallas.
Foxborough, you
They
know.
came back
You know
from
that
21
you know
points
that they was
to beat the Patriots.
that was the first loss in Foxborough since 1973 when they that was the latest when they blew a lead at their home stadium. So that's been over
Right.
52 years ago. So that is fair what they did. That's 52 years ago what they did, what the Bills did to the Patriots.
So, it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be interesting. Sorry. I don't know what's going to happen in the AFC. The AFC is wide open now. Now the
Well,
Chiefs are
yeah.
officially eliminated. It's wide open. It could be any
Well,
team.
I don't trust Buffalo. I don't trust their defense. They can't stop the run game at all. I mean, the Patriots gas them on the ground. They can't stop the run game at all. They gave up
What the
2,200
Buffalo
yards.
Bills are demonstrating, though, is they can win these contests, these tight
Yeah,
contests,
but if
and they're
they play,
demonstrating it this year. And their defense did step up. It has
yeah,
stepped
but
up. It
the
stepped up
thing
in the
is though,
Bengals game. They got 2 turnovers.
well,
That
yeah,
was a big. That was a big reason why they won. They got two
yeah,
turnovers in that game. That's a big reason, and I think
but
the
in the,
Bills' defense has to do. They have to do things like that. The
they got to
defense
stop
has
the
to step up.
run.
I said this before. They have to step
Well,
up.
they not gonna do that in the playoffs though. They ain't gonna be able to go 21 down and win the game if they play Houston or Denver. They're not going to beat them
Well, it's going to be tough
21-0
with
and win the
Houston,
game
but
against defense.
the thing
Yeah.
about
Not
Houston,
even against
it would
Denver.
be
They not coming back
it would
against Denver.
hard. Again, Denver. The reality is this. I don't get into a lot of predicting, and I'm not a prognosticator, and I don't go into pronouncements. I take things on a week to week, game by game level, which is the best way to assess. And I look at the way the Bills are playing. They're playing well right now. And that's the best that you can do heading into the playoffs. How will they play in the playoffs? We will see. I don't think the Bills have had a wide open field in the playoffs quite like this. It's always been they've got to deal with KC. Now they don't have to deal with KC. So we will see if the Bills get to the playoffs, what can they do? Again, this year, the reality was people thought it was the Buffalo's year in regards to getting to the Super Bowl. Now the chance is there. Will they
But I think,
will they be able to make that happen? We can only see.
well, they got
I
to
did
win the
want to
AFC
get
East, though. I don't think
again. I don't know whether they're going to win the division or
I
or they're
think they
just
need
going to
to
get on
win
the
the
wild card.
division. You ain't going to win. The last team to win a Super Bowl playing on the road like that was the Kansas City Chiefs and Aaron Rodgers and stuff. So it don't happen typically you win 3 road games and you make the Super Bowl and win. It don't happen a lot in the NFL. So
Mm.
they want to be at
But
home for the
again,
wild card game.
sometimes, you got to make it happen.
Yeah.
Getting back, in wrapping up, getting back to the expulsion from Instagram. What I want to make clear is that, to people in regards to it, is those of you who have been removed from a social media platform like Instagram, you know, I know, I don't know what the reasons were, but in my case, it was a total fiction. It was a total fabrication and a lie. I mean, it was odd. I never had any issues or problems with Instagram. I was there to promote my podcast and my newsletters on Substack. That's why I was there. And I never, it was a weird situation. I mean, from me, it was like, okay, you're saying that I have these channels. There were fake channels. I have no channels. And I have to repeat this and I have to state this because these are the facts. The facts are that they totally, even if somebody came along and tried to make it look like I had fake channels and more than one page, wouldn't they be able to go and look at that and find and check that out? That says to me they didn't do that. It says to me they didn't care to do that. It says to me that they don't really care. And this is the point that I want to make to people. One of the points I want to make is once they remove you from these platforms, that's it. Unless you're a celebrity, unless you're a public figure, unless you're famous, maybe you've got a chance. Maybe down the road they'll get you back. But the reality is
Well,
once they remove you from these platforms or a platform, that's it. They don't care. And so it really shows the disturbing side of these social media. Well, really, these tech companies and their platform and the platforms. Again, it's utilitarian with me. I'm there to promote my newsletters on Substack and my podcast. And if people are tired of
well,
hearing me say that, those are the facts. Those are the facts.
it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure having you on day, lawyer Albert. And I think you stated a good case today, man. If I had a
Well,
gavel, I'd give it out
it's
right
not a
now.
matter of a case. It's a matter of the head cases that apparently run these social media platforms. And it's about getting the word out at this point. I could just mind my business and not talk about this. But what was done was unjust, even though I don't have a personal. Here's the interesting part about it. I can't even say I'm mad about this or angry, even though it is completely unjust and wrong. And my mind computes this, obviously. But I don't have an emotional reaction to it. I'm not even angry about this because I don't have a way of dealing with this because I've never had this happen before. So I think that has a lot to do with it. And also because I'm not attached to the internet or these platforms on the internet like a lot of other people are. For some people, it hits them hard because, hey, this is a way, number one, it's a way for them to make money. And number two, it's a way for them to be somebody else, I guess,
Yeah.
to reimagine and revamp their life. Some people live off the internet. I don't personally understand that,
Well,
but they do. But I realize that something like this can really devastate people. It can prevent them from making money. It can prevent them from making money. It can prevent them from being able to, be on a platform they like. For me, it didn't matter, but it matters to other people. And so I would say to people, be very careful when you're dealing with these social media platforms and other kinds of platforms online. Just be aware of
it
it.
was
Be
it was a
careful
pleasure having you on again,
and be
Albert.
cautious. And so, to all those who followed me on Instagram or saw me on Instagram, I'm now on Pinterest. So, if you want, in regards to me, if you want to help me, if you want to support my new channel on Pinterest, you can go there. It's under my name, Albert Lanier. Below here, you can see my name, Albert Lanier. I'm under the name Albert Lanier. And you can go and check me out there. And you can also my support my projects, my outlets, and my projects. So
Well,
you
it
can
was a pleasure
support me
having you
on
on again,
Substack
Albert.
at allanier.substack.com. You can support Final Cut at allanier.substack.com. You can support um, Retro Review at thumbsdown.substack.com. You can support my podcast, The Write Off, and Final Cut. You can find those on Spotify. And you can support my YouTube channel, which is Ryder Albert Lanier 3434, or at Ryder Albert Lanier 3434, otherwise just known as Ryder Albert Lanier. So that's what you can do in regards to me and in this situation. Support my outlets, support my projects, and support my new Pinterest channel. That's what I would say for me. For others, just be aware of this and be prepared in case this happens to you.
Well, you have a great day, Albert, man. It was a
You
pleasure
too.
having you on
Thank you
again,
for
man.
having me on. I really appreciate it.